it's a swimming and diving team. It's a combined team.
Can you eliminate one without the other?
I would think that that would be difficult.
Might have Title IX.
If we
That's
weren't
what I'm
able to
thinking.
provide an equal, if we were able to provide an equal opportunity with the YMCA, where they had a qualified coach who was state certified, you know, I think that we probably, that would work.
I think if you keep these two in and just look at the other cuts, it puts the athletic budget in a decrease similar to the other areas of the budget.
Well, instead of a $38,000 increase, you'd be looking at a $10,000 decrease.
Right.
And the overall budget and sports would be in.
Right.
Correct.
And the kids aren't gonna, none of these kids will lose programs. Except for JV.
No, we'd end up still with an increase.
Right now, we're at a 38,000.
But you're adding 18,000 back to that. So you wouldn't have a $38,000
But this is in
increase.
the current budget. He's recommending it as an elimination, but it's in our
Oh,
current
no,
budget.
sorry, right.
So it wouldn't be an addition to
Yep.
our current.
Yep. Just will be taken out.
So it would end up to be a net reduction to the athletic budget. Of $10,000, which as a percentage is pretty much in line with where the other ones are coming.
All right. Since we're on that topic, why don't we stay with that one on the cut sheet here? What was trying to do?
No, it's Bruno.
Oh, that was Bruno? Thanks, Bruno. If we took the recommended reductions from the athletic director minus the elimination of the two high school programs, our general athletic budget would go from a $38,000 increase to a $10,000 decrease, and we would have middle school sports. Does that sound like a hard decision for anybody?
No.
Would everybody support that? I would put everything back in and we would actually see a $10,000 reduction in our budget. Wow. Nice work, man. All right. So we can call Channel 8, who keeps calling me, and tell them that middle school sports is back in. Bruno, break the story. Isaac, they listen to your paper. Write that right now. Tweet it.
So you're leaving in the indoor track. and
We're
diving.
leaving in the indoor track, we're leaving in the diving.
Thank you.
We cut,
Now, you
freshman
wanna-
sports will be paid.
I got all the others, I just wanted to make sure I understood the two you were leaving.
Okay.
So we're adding the 48,844 back into the budget, back into the list of reductions.
Well, one's a reduction of 19. You're adding in 29,531
Yes.
and reducing 19,293.
We're proposing a 48,840, well, no,
From our,
because we have to add middle school sports back in. Right now,
well,
middle
that's,
school
right,
sports.
and I'm adding 48,844 from our cut list.
Right, so up under our original list of eliminating middle school sports, where was that? Did we even talk about that? No, that was in the original budget.
Yeah,
So you're gonna add middle school sports back in at 69,056. Right? But you're going to have a reduction of 48,844. It'll be a sports saving. AD economies, that's pretty good. All right.
You agree, Daniel? You're looking kind of...
no, I don't, but I'll
Okay.
clear it up with Ken later. No, because the total cut, the original, because you gotta go off the original, which was 91,990.
Okay,
That was the original reduction of TMS sports. And
Yes.
that's what's in the superintendent's budget. So you gotta take that number
okay,
and go from there.
all right. See, that's something we have to clear now, we can't wait on that. So the original, putting the sports back in is not the 69 that was proposed here.
Right, it was never, this was just all that, this was the money that
That was as close as they
the AD
could
could,
get.
exactly. This
I
wasn't
gave you a
middle
bad
school
number, Paul.
sports.
I'm sorry.
So we have to just, when,
What's
you
the
and I,
original
when we have
number?
our total
99,
91,990,
okay.
and if we're going off our cut list, we're gonna add back 48,844. And then it'll wash in the end for all sports.
Okay.
But these are cuts that are in the budget. Why would we add that back in? We'd add in the 91.
We're adding in
Because-
91,990.
And then reducing it by 48,844, which are the cuts.
Because these,
Those are cuts from the athletic budget the way it currently sits.
right,
So those will be a reduction from the budget.
yes, but you have to go from the 91,990, so you're
Well,
saying.
we're not even talking about the 91. Up above in our list, we're adding 91,990 back to the budget.
Oh, you're adding that, okay.
And then we're subtracting out of that 91,990, $48,844.
Okay, I'm with you, yep,
So they
that,
were adding
yeah,
in
okay.
We're adding back $43,146 back to the budget. Is everyone in support of that, to put middle school sports back?
Are those, now, are your numbers right now, all of us?
Yeah,
I think they're better.
Okay.
Right? Smart guy. Is everyone in support of that? John, are you in support? All right. We started the night here with a move of summer pay, of pushing off. Do we have an idea of what that number would be, Daniel? What the summer pay would be?
it's always been, since I've been here, about 150,000.
So it's about 150.
Yeah, but every year since I've been here, I took that out because it always ran into the hole in salaries. It was an arbitrary number that former people just plugged in.
But we would be able to get the number of what the pay is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'd be safe to say 150.
So it's gonna be at least 150.
No.
Because it usually runs in the hole, you said, so you usually spend more
Right,
than.
after we do all our summer hiring,
Yeah,
when we used to put that differential in,
Yeah.
salaries would be in the hole
okay.
at year end.
Would it still be that way with the MOU for new hires?
Yeah, because we're budgeting 55,000. I mean, it all depends. If we hire at 40,000, then we're good. If we don't, if we're hiring right at that 55,000, then we're not gonna get that savings.
Does-
I still think we're talking about two different,
I think we're talking about two different things.
I think so. I'm hearing vacancy savings. I'm talking about the summer pay differential. What happens is, in 2013-14, you budgeted for 12 months of salary with the 26 weeks. If you pull the, out of that July, August pay period, the 2 months, which is probably four pay
Four pay
periods, possibly 5 pay
Say
periods.
5, I think it's 5.
Yeah. That's what I always
Right.
understood that pay differential to be.
Yes,
And
that's,
doing it just this 1 year, you're going to see, a drop in your salary line item. Next year you won't, because you're obviously just.
Because then you're just adding the year
Exactly,
before.
yeah.
So-
I saw it dropped off the radar, and I just thought, this is the year that maybe if you could bring it back, find that savings, it could offset some of this other stuff that you're trying to find.
Would-
Bring this up. You have
How
an
hard
important
would it be to
education.
get that number? You can't do it now, right?
I could do a rough number right now. Will you keep track of what you're doing?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll keep track of what he's doing.
Very close track of what I'm doing. Not what anybody else is doing, but I don't know what I'm doing.
I'll keep track of
All right.
what you're doing.
We had discussion of the CIATs. Going back to my list. Hold on that page. We had a recommendation from the mayor to look at the CIAT item. Jeremy also talked about the CIATs. Andrew talked about moving a CIAT to an administrative position.
The BAPFA.
Yep. Chris defended the CIATs, so let's open that up for discussion. What do we want to look at for CIATs? Josh?
I have a question. It has to do with something Fiona said about not irregularities, but inconsistencies in the math instruction. And I don't remember specifically, but I don't remember being surprised at our SAT scores, math SAT scores going down. And I'm guessing that if the program were really inconsistent and getting worse all the time, our math scores would be low, but they don't seem to be. Am I right about that or what?
They are tax grade. The issue is not the elementary, I don't think the math.
No, I'm not the SATs. I'm talking about when the kids, as seniors, take the SATs. Those scores have been pretty consistent, and they haven't been particularly low. And I'm wondering if,
Do you think that's a fair representation of the student body, though, who's taking the SATs?
well, you
Only
said
kids
that, for instance,
college-bound are
they're not
going
taking
to-
geometry at a high enough rate, yet if they weren't, it would seem like the SAT scores would be abominable.
Look at the CAP scores that everybody
Well,
has to take. The kids taking the
that
SATs
may well be, but I'm
are
thinking of
only
the
kids that are
SATs.
going to college. Kids that aren't going to college aren't taking the SATs.
But what percentage of our kids take the SATs? It's pretty high, isn't it?
No,
No,
Yeah, it's actually really low.
it's very low.
very low.
Very low? Okay.
You could have some middle and high school people doing some scrambling to get all of those kids coming into the different elementaries all on the same page too.
Right.
So by the time they get up to that SAT, things are set
So
straight.
all of that may well be true. I'm thinking of our SAT scores, and I haven't been shocked by them. But if we have a low participation rate compared to our DERG or compared to what we want, or
I can pull all that for you, I don't have it.
I probably have it someplace buried in files too, but I don't have it with me tonight.
No.
Okay, thank you.
And I have our language,
our ELA, CIAT here, so.
Any other, yes, Andy?
I think, again, the real issue, what we're doing here tonight is, do we want to put in a number of $120,000 reduction in the line item for an administrative cost and let the superintendent work that number for next year, however she has to. That's the bottom line. I mean, can we,
That's the bottom line.
yeah, I mean, it's not, at this point, we're not going to debate the merits of
Right.
any one position. Can we eliminate $120,000 from that line item?
What I needed was that proposal right there.
Okay?
The proposal is to eliminate $122,000 from the administrative line item.
I'm not in support of that. I don't think we are in a position to pedal backwards. And we can't blame the superintendent.
Nobody's blaming her for anything.
No, what I'm saying is if we don't provide her with the resources and the direction that she wants to go, then don't blame her if things aren't working out. I don't think after 1 year you can make a full evaluation of whether a restructure is working or not working. I think it's premature and irresponsible, quite frankly, for this board to start ripping apart something that hasn't fully come to fruition yet.
Any other discussion? Paul?
Now that I think I know what I'm talking about. I agree with Fiona. I mean, I think in this day and age, with curriculums changing so much, with so many demands put on teachers, and the high importance put on test scores, I mean, it just makes sense to have people that are coordinating our curriculum, coordinating what teachers are doing. I was sort of shocked when I came back to Connecticut from teaching in New York, because New York had a state curriculum. So everybody taught the same thing in 6th grade throughout the whole state of New York. And then I started working in the Connecticut schools, and I realized that there was no state curriculum. And in one district, you could have 3 different curriculums going on in 3 different elementary schools. And I think that they're key to the success of our students and our teachers. That support they give teachers, helping with writing the curriculum, with meeting the Common Core standards is just so important. So I agree with Fiona.
And they do also go into classrooms and do model lessons and co-teach and what you need to do. So again, building the capacity.
And just one last thing, I'm not necessarily a big believer in more administration means better scores for kids, more administrators, okay? But I think the type of work they're doing, they're in the front lines, down in the schools with the teachers, I think we need it. That's it.
Also, now that I'm clear, I think there's a lot to be said about having consistency. It's tough for me to fathom a situation where we have, different classrooms teaching different things. I think the key to success is consistency of purpose, and it sounds like before this year we had 0 consistency of purpose. So that's a bit alarming to me. I've always wanted, when I first started this journey with going with the board, one of the things that I wanted to do was bring something that I had going through school was, nobody ever asked if you were going to college. They asked, what college are you going to? And that's a cultural shift that I would love to see here. Now granted, I get not everybody is college bound, but I think that's a decision for the students to make, not this board or anyone else. We need to give them all the tools necessary for them to be successful. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Of course, if that's what we're shooting for, that speaks to the need for the TAG program, so that we can attract the kind of people who will be a part of that culture.
You're jumping ahead. You're reading 2 chapters ahead.
Actually, in that case.
We're gonna get there. That's actually next.
But while I have the floor, I will say, at this point, we are, and Fiona has said this too, our job is to run a good school system. And if the Board of Finance wants to hit us so hard that this looks like a good idea, maybe we'd have to revisit it. But I think at this point, it's probably worth keeping the CIATs in with a fallback position, and it's a good one, that if we need to have a principalship filled, or even a director of special services, whatever we're going to call it, that would be a position to move the CIAT and still get some of the benefits of their expertise and work, and save a few dollars too. But
All right, well, let's just cut to the chase. All those in favor of cutting $122,000 from the administrative line item? All those opposed? It's okay. All right. TAG program. Can I get a proposal for the TAG program?
I'd like to make a proposal that we institute a part-time tag program.
I can't hear you.
She's, part-time TAG program.
So proposal A.
Proposal A.
Would you like to change or modify that proposal?
It depends on all the kindergarten.
Sure. Well,
On both, I mean, so, to me, they go,
Right.
they're about the same amount of money, are they not?
there. All-day kindergarten is about the same amount of money as,
Unless we can find $160,000
No,
with that
I
shift.
did it twice, and it's come out to 38,545. And it's all because we took the 0 freeze for for teachers, and we're only giving them, Ken, do you know off the top of your head, for next year. We haven't been moving them, they haven't been taking steps, they've been freezing. That's where you get that differential.
so the teachers.
Yes, because a step,
Oh, no,
because
no,
when they
you're
go up
just-
on a
I
step,
think you're still talking vacancy savings, raises. I'm talking about paychecks.
She's talking about taking the actual total pay.
Paycheck, the total
Of the
paycheck.
teachers.
I know, I'm
Okay.
doing that. I totally understand what you're talking about.
And we only have the $38,000 worth of salaries that take the
That,
26-week versus the.
exactly.
How
On the
many
new
teachers?
pay rate, on the new step.
But I don't think it matters.
No,
My
that's fine.
understanding, I don't think it matters what step they're on. It's just how many people are 26 weeks.
No,
How
it
many
does.
weeks? Okay.
The total savings comes from the step increase. Because we are paying a teacher with 14, 15 monies, but they're on 13, 14 step for the 2 months in the summer. So that's where you're gonna see your savings. Because when I do the budget, I'm budgeting 12 months on that 14, 15 step.
Right.
But we're only,
What they wanna do is, we have to take the word differential out. Because we're not
Okay.
talking about a differential. What Eleanor's proposing is you take the total payroll for all teachers that collect money in the 5 pay periods over the summer. And you move that total payroll to next year's budget. So what we're saying is take the payroll for July and August of 15
yep,
and move that into the 15-16 budget, because the 15-16 budget takes effect July 1st of 15. We've encumbered that salary in this year's budget. So right now, at the end of the year, you're gonna have money in your account to pay the teachers their 5 pay periods over the summer.
no. We start the new budget year. We start on, there's 4 pays in the summer, this coming summer.
Okay, 4 days, okay.
And we'll start paying them with the 14, 15 monies, because we can't encumber, New World can't encumber
All right,
salaries.
so you don't, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're following me. When you budgeted 13, 14, you budgeted 13, 14 only to June 30th, the salary.
No, I budgeted, when I budget the salaries, because we can't encumber, I budget from September 1 through August.
Right there.
Yep,
Right there.
yep,
So what I'm saying is, if you take that July 1, which is a new fiscal year, and July and August, those pay periods, as the chairman has just described, and that's your differential. That's where you can, and I'm not sure what those are. I don't know how many teachers take those 26 pay periods. You can back those out because you've already budgeted them in this year. You take that 250.
no, okay, then I'm answering your question wrong. No, I'm not budgeting that in this year, because we already paid for last summer out of this year.
So you budget salaries July 1st to June 30th.
Yes, but we start paying on the new monies for the summertime, even though it's the salary of this year. So the only differential is gonna be that step movement of a teacher. Because we haven't had much movement, because we've froze their budget or froze their salary, there's not that big 150 or 200,000 like there used to be.
But you're not looking at it as a savings, more as a deferment. You're just pushing it into the next year, so it makes the budget look better.
It is, you'll only experience that bump once, when you do it once. This is the only time you'd experience. Next year, you're going to be budgeting on the same concept of, instead of July 1 to June 30th, or instead of September 1st to August, 31st.
So it all
So
depends on
it's-
how we budget the salary.
Exactly. If you do that this one time, it's the only time you're gonna see that bump.
See,
I just thought it would
do
be.
you want me to take the full payroll of July and August teachers, this July and August, and reduce that?
Into
Well,
next year.
the question's,
I mean, that's
but the base,
a lot of money.
that's what she's talking about. Well, what we're,
But you're gonna get killed next year, Ken.
Yeah.
the,
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, you're just basically taking the money from the right pocket, putting it in the left pocket and saying, well, I'll pull it out next year, assuming that somebody doubles the amount of money I have next year. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's poor business.
one payroll for teachers, it averages $970,000. One paycheck for all of our teachers. So you're gonna say $970,000 times 4. I mean, that's,
well,
that's a payroll.
I think we have to get,
August payrolls.
Yes, one payroll.
But not all of
A July payroll.
Yes, yeah, There's 14 teachers in our district that take 22 pays. Yeah.
Most
Like,
do
we've
take the
been asked-
26.
Most take the 26.
Most take the
Yeah.
26.
There's
It's always been like that.
13 or 14 teachers.
But the basis of the
that don't.
conversation is, when do you budget, in this budget, like, when the current school year ends, your payroll account is zero,
Mhm.
right?
Yep,
And the pay that you give to the teachers for July and August is not in the current contract, the current budget. It's in next year's budget.
the pay I'm gonna give the teachers this July and August will come from 14-15 monies.
But there is no money, because
Right.
the thought, and if I follow it, is Eleanor is assuming that the payroll is budgeted September to August.
Yeah, I
Right.
answered her question
And at the end of July, we would have an encumbered amount of money that we would use to pay July and August, correct? That's, okay. But you budget July to June,
Right,
so there isn't that lump of money
right.
that we could move out of next year's budget to the following year.
I mean, we've talked at Budget Committee for 2 years about trying to do that at some point in time, but you're looking at $3 million to get it all back to paying it out of the correct fiscal year for the summer months. Because you have to pay the whole, I mean, everyone takes it except for 14 teachers.
Okay,
Trying to figure 250,000 there.
I appreciate that.
Sounds like it
Back
costs
to
us
tech.
$3 million.
Back to tag.
Oh,
We were on a part-time tag proposal versus all-day kindergarten.
well, is it one, are we doing them one or the other?
Well,
That's
that's,
just my feelings. I wasn't gonna make it a full-time and see what the support for part-time is. If everyone wants part-time and not full-time.
Can we fit part-time in full day?
It's what it is now. It's not a part-time so much as just the field trip.
3 field trips.
Well, no, I was looking at.
As much as I
Five
think,
hours.
as much as I think we need to support our gifted and talented kids, I'm not sure that program does that. I mean, I said this before, that those kids aren't gifted and talented just when they're with that person 2 hours a week or whatever. They're gifted and talented all day long. And I would rather see a program where teachers are being helped to ramp up their lessons and whatever to meet the needs of those gifted kids. So I would rather opt to all-day kindergarten and rethink a tag program that meets the needs of these kids and not have it a pull-out program. You pull the gifted kid out of my classroom, my whole class suffers from that. So many kids learn strategies and learning from these gifted kids, and all of a sudden they're gone.
But Paul, what you're saying is that you're denying a bright kid, a really bright kid, a chance to expand himself or herself even more, so
No, I
that
don't
other
think I'm
kids of less ability are benefited?
I don't think I'm saying that, because I don't believe that the program, the way it's the way it's now constituted, actually does that for the bright kids.
So it doesn't do anything, so we don't need it.
Taking gifted kids on field trips, I don't think meets their needs. I don't think.
Oh, no, it doesn't. That's why this low end, this
Okay.
tag light has not my
So,
support at all.
I guess what I'm saying, Jonathan, is a different kind of program,
Real
and I might support it.
we would like that in brass tacks, tag light. It's a new program. That's a good one.
So I will change my motion to put back in option B.
I didn't realize because we had the final numbers, because wasn't it much more expensive when we originally?
$64,953 for option B, and $15,265,000.
Difference of a salary.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
but
But if
what
you
is
look at
currently,
that,
hang on, what is currently in the budget?
That amount.
There is currently 18,983 in the budget.
Right.
Right.
So option A and B are additional to that 18,983.
No,
No.
no, it's,
But John, my point to you is, if you look at this, the tag program, like option A, is 6 bus field trips, 12 bus field trips, 13, 14, 8 van trips. I mean, that's what the program is.
That's nothing. That's not a tag program. In
That's
fact,
what I'm saying.
one teacher does not.
That's all I'm
I am
saying.
saying that that's not what I want. I won't vote for that program because it's an insult to these bright kids.
Okay.
And
And I'm
one-
not sure we disagree.
One tag teacher in the school system is far below the need.
So how about we redirect option B, I think it really just, it's an increase of 40, because we already have 18 in there.
Right, correct.
So, all right, so
So for 40,000.
for 40,000 for
Well,
option
it's,
B.
it's 45,000.
Yeah. 45,970. We would have to add to the budget if we want option B.
So I'll make a move to add option B for 45,970.
And that's going to a full-time tag teacher, 6 field trips to Talcott, 1 to the New Britain Museum,
And plus, she'll go to
And
the
then-
buildings every week.
and then
Yeah, she travels.
she travels to the buildings. And she holds a class basically a week in a building.
Basically, this program.
Yes. Well, that was, they put the numbers to the programs that they gave out the other day.
No.
Okay, so the recommendation is to add $45,970 to the budget to increase tag to 1 full-time teacher and essentially the same amount of trips, still 6 trips. Any discussion on it?
How many students are gonna be in this tag program that is gonna be serviced by?
5 elementary.
3 to 5%, so 2,500.
How many students?
We're working on that right now.
Because it's only 45, sorry.
I thought it was 86.
Something like that.
I thought it was 86.
Did we get, did I get that?
At some
Should have last week.
Yeah, at some point we should.
I can't find it either. 3%.
Can I see
Because
this?
you have 400 and then right now it's 800. Yeah. Yeah. So she'll work with 24 intensely and then general enrichment.
There'll be 24 identified students, 24 to 30 identified students, and then she'll work with approximately 50 students that excel in a particular learning course. Is that the right word? In a certain subject.
Capsule?
Capsule, there you go.
These kids are 8th graders, 7th graders, 6th?
4th and 5th.
They're 4th and 5th.
4th and
What happened to the tag program in 7th and 8th?
That was called the Apple program, and that died under Mr. Leone.
We are doing nothing for
Okay,
these kids
I-
now except running a bus a few
Okay,
times a year.
I'm gonna vote, just to give my opinion, I'm gonna vote against it because I think what the board needs to do is, when the new season starts, get back to school improvement and hammer out really what the board wants to do as far as short-term, long-term, with tag. We have this discussion every year. There's always this compromise that nobody's happy with. It doesn't really make any sense. I don't know when this tag program has ever functioned the way maybe you think it should function or anyone else thinks it should function. I think the board's gonna vote to do what that is, what you made the motion for, but I don't think it's the right way of spending any money. Go back to the drawing board for next year and do it right for next year.
I gotta say, I somewhat agree with that. I mean, we're doing it, and, because I think everybody's in agreement that the program's good. So I don't
Well,
think anybody's
something,
arguing the
the
merit.
concept is good.
Right, so my concern is, if we're gonna do it, we should do it all the way, instead of, this seems half-baked. Right, this seems half-baked right now.
Too half.
Well, no, this is the beginning of the reinstitution of a real tag program. This is where it starts. It starts with one teacher running a program that becomes desirable, beneficial, and can show its merits, and then the next year we're sitting around this table listening to proposals, either to get rid of it because it didn't work, which is not going to happen, or to increase it so more kids can benefit from it at other grade levels.
Right. Is there a cost for the tag students? Do they have to be tested and identified?
Yes.
Beyond
We
standardized
have to
testing that we have to do for
identify them
every student. So they have to be discreetly tested.
That's something new. We used to just use CAT's teacher recommendation. Now, because we really don't have a state standardized assessment, we're gonna have to look at some other standardized assessment to administer to them.
But we would have to, even if
And
we
we'd have to
don't
give it
do the
to every
tag.
child in
Yeah,
fourth
we'd have to do that
and fifth
anyway.
grade.
Right, we have to
Right.
identify them, we just don't have to service them, so.
Right. So, yeah, there will be an expense.
But are we going to have to do that expense anyway?
Yes.
If we
This
kept-
year, yes. 'cause
If we
don't
kept
have-
tag just the way it is, and we reevaluate it next year, we would have to test every kid in fourth and fifth grade. If we change tag, we would have to test every kid in fourth and fifth grade.
Yeah.
And the cost for that additional testing is in your budget?
For this year?
Yes.
No,
Or should it be?
no,
Why?
because we have children, we would only be, well, actually, we'd only be testing our third graders going to fourth grade. Because the state hasn't said what type of tests we can use to administer it. You're not gonna do a WISC, because that means it's an individualized assessment that it's administered by a school psychologist. So we've been looking at different things out there, and whatever you use is soft. You know, we haven't found something we wanted to use that would be reasonable.
So the cost for the testing of the students is not in the budget, regardless of which way we go.
Right,
That's something we'll have to figure out as it unfolds.
right.
But it's supposed to be in the budget, right? Because the state's going to require us to identify those
We
students.
can test in September too.
Right, but, and the kids that get identified will get a 504 program?
No, have to give them a IEP
For tag?
for tag. Because it comes under the umbrella of special ed.
So if you didn't offer a tag program and you offered
General enrichment?
general enrichment, would you have to do the testing?
No.
Well, yes. you
Oh,
still
yeah,
have to
we're
identify
supposed
them.
to, or we have to at least develop some form of identification. We could say, our, I don't know, our DRAs, our DRPs, I haven't even looked into it extensively.
I thought the gentleman who came and spoke the other night said that we have to identify, but it all depends on the school district of what they want to do once you've identified. After you identify, your school district could do great stuff or do
Or no.
nothing,
Yes.
and that's what I'm arguing here.
But from the state was saying you have to provide some form of standardized test.
Right.
But because so few districts still have a program, it's questionable how they do their identification.
Right.
You know, well,
All right, Paul.
I've got to do my homework. I do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of schools don't have a program anymore because the pull-out program wasn't really a good program.
The program we had,
Huh?
the program we had.
No,
The
a
program we
pull-out
currently
program.
do, where you pull the kids out.
Historically, the pull-out program is not, that's why they ended the pull-out with special ed also, it didn't work that well. But I'm going to make an assumption that when your CIATs or whatever they're called,
Our
CAITs,
curriculum
whatever,
people.
when your curriculum people are working with teachers around lesson design, one of the questions they're saying to teachers as they design lessons, what are you going to do to meet the needs of your kids that are gifted? How are we going to? So that's starting to be built in to the program, I would think.
There's a lot of head nodding going on in the audience, so I'm going to say yes. John?
I watched the tag program die in this town,
Yeah.
right after my kids were of that age, it had already been reduced from what it had been, which had been an exemplary program, statewide recognition granted to it, and then it went budgetary, totally budgetary. There were a lot of people who were happy to see it go because it was not viewed as egalitarian. You know, it's, oh, it recognized bright kids, and you can't celebrate them. You know, you can say everything good about anyone else, but bright kids just really, some people have trouble recognizing that they need at least as much extra attention as more needy kids.
That's why they're under special education.
Just know, John, I
because they do
firmly
have special
believe in
needs.
meeting the needs of those kids.
Yeah, but it wasn't because the pull-out programs didn't work, it was because they were expensive.
I'm just saying, I
We're cheap.
don't think I'm not for meeting their needs, because I am. I think we need to. I'm not sure that what's going in here is the best way to do that.
But it's a better way than nothing.
Well, I'm trying to point out, I don't think nothing's happening. I think there's more than nothing's happening, that's all.
So let's look a little further out then. So we're talking about, we want to have, ideally, we want to have a full tag program. What are we looking at for a cost there? Are we just prolonging the inevitable where we're going to talk about this next year and still not fully fund it, and then the year after that, still not fully fund it? I mean,
Well, the proposal from Mr. Nargi was, instead of occupying the balance of this evening debating the merits of tag or non-merits of tag, is to stick with the program that we have, I believe, that's in the budget, that's not at any, no, and removing all tag.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then start from scratch next year.
And then go to school improvement and actually build a tag program that we can build into the budget and then work with next year.
Basically kick the can.
When something comes out, it never goes back in, we know that.
Well, I'm sure that there could be another proposal that would be leave it the way it is and revisit it in the fall. Leave it the way it is, actually, leaving it the way it is gonna have a $3,500 savings. For whatever reason we found economies. Leaving it as it is, or increasing it to.
We have a chance to do something for our brightest kids that we are not doing now.
Okay.
And
The proposal right now that we're gonna vote on was Fiona's proposal to add $45,970 to the budget, going to a full-day, full-time tag teacher, I'm sorry, and having the same amount of field trips as last year. It does cover more students than we talked about. Thanks. The tag student would offer enrichment modules to all 4th and 5th grade students at each school on the day that that tag teacher is in that school. So it's not really just 25 to 30 kids. It's gonna
You'd be using.
offer to everybody.
You'd be using a multiple
Proposal
intelligence
piece.
I
model.
don't think that's what it says.
It says, next I would offer enrichment modules to the
But if
4th
you
and
keep
5th grade
reading,
students of
he
each school.
says, teachers would recommend students they feel would benefit, perhaps up to 10 students. So it's not all students.
For each module,
Right.
so like,
You're not talking all of
All
them.
right, it would just be a larger number than the 24 to 30.
so 10 a week times the number of
It might get to all the kids, it may not reach all the kids. I would think.
Well, it'd be 50
All right, yeah. Yes.
I'm still confused. Is there going to be additional costs to test and identify and design the plans if we go with a full-time tag program? And if so, what would those costs be?
No more than if we stay the way we are.
We have to identify them, whether we have a program or not, we're required to identify these things.
So the testing will not be an additional, it's an additional cost from last year, but it's one that we have to.
I would like to call the state.
There's no clear-cut testing, so we don't know the cost to it. There isn't, it's something they didn't nail down. You know, they took out a paint roller and they,
But we've always had
Filled
to
in
test
sense.
them. It was just the
Yes,
district
the way we
came up
test
with
them.
its own. Now they're saying the state may tell them how
What?
they have to test.
Just one other thought, which would be, let's vote, eliminate, wait for the budget, our money come back, we get what we want, we can come back at that point and make additions and deletions afterwards. I think we should.
That's gonna happen anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, this one here, there's two, our superintendent needs to get some more answers, I think. And I hear enough confusion among the board members as to not really know what this is. So why don't we, well, I mean, we could do it the honest way, vote to put the money in, and then afterwards discuss it.
Well, we're gonna vote on that motion.
Okay.
And then if it fails, we're gonna go to a different proposal. So all those in favor of adding option B of the tag proposal at $45,970 into the budget? 1, 2, 3. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Any proposals, any more proposals on tag? You're dying, Chris. Go ahead, Nate.
Option A. At least.
Keep it at option A and review it through school improvement and try to build an actual tag program with the
Fully
CIATs?
funded, robust tag program. Coming out next year. Roll it out.
Any discussion on that proposal? Yes, sir.
No, it's a partial solution, it's not,
I agree, John.
I'm a Bolshevik on this one. We need to go all the way with it.
There's so many unknowns.
Okay.
There's just so many unknowns.
Any,
John, all the way or not at all?
All the way or not at all, yeah. I mean, if we're not gonna do anything with these kids, why make it a sham proposal? Why make it look like we're doing something if we aren't willing to give them part of what they need? They need far more than what they're getting even under the big proposal.
Totally agree, but I think we should just figure out what that's.
That's what the Mensheviks said, and they lost.
I'm in agreement with Mr. Kisko. I think he makes a lot of sense. So,
okay, all those in favor of option A? 1, 2, 3. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So, do I have another proposal? Make your proposal.
no, I'm good. I'm happy with what we just did.
We didn't do anything. We have $18,983
Oh, you mean? We're done
in the
with tag.
budget for a tag program right now.
I was waiting for you to ask to eliminate the 18,000.
Okay, I'd like to make the motion that we eliminate the $18,000 that's allocated for TAB.
All right, so eliminate the tag program altogether?
Yes.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor of eliminating the tag program altogether?
We've got a couple people. Yeah, that's
Opposed? Abstention? You said all or nothing. You voted against all of them.
Which means we're getting nothing.
Yeah, you
We
got
get it all, so we're getting
18,000.
nothing.
18,000's a lot of money.
So as stupid as this is, option A stays in the budget at $3,500 more than option A.
What's the?
Because the original budget is $18,983. That's in the current budget.
Okay.
Option A was $15,265 for the same service, but we voted against that. Option B was adding $45,970, and we voted against that. And we voted against removing the $18,983, so that stays in, and we're gonna spend $3,500 more on option A than if we voted for option A.
Extra field trip.
I'm fine with it, it's in.
Did everyone understand what they just voted for?
We'll pay for the testing.
So what this means is that our tag students will continue to spend most of their time tutoring other kids.
Yes,
That's
for another year.
Pretty much.
All right, so the tag change is 0.
What happens when we meet for 3 hours?
Cade, oh, it's gonna go longer. Cade,
I make the motion that we eliminate discontinue our services with CAVE at whatever expense that is.
do we have a cost for Cade? $15,000 for Cade. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor of eliminating the dues paid to Cade and removing us from their membership? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1, 2. Abstentions?
No, this is a.
Oh, because you're on the, you're not on the board. Are you for, against, or abstaining?
I'm voting on the second. First, you voted for the motion.
Yes.
To get out of CAVE, and I'm
Yeah.
voting against the motion to
All right.
leave CAVE.
Can we vote for who wants to remove us from K, please? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those that want to stay in K. 1, 2, 3. Abstentions? You're abstaining?
Yeah.
We're out of cake.
We're out of K. Minus $15,000.
And yeah, you look distressed.
Sorry.
All right. Adding of an assistant superintendent at no cost to the district, realigning the CIATs. I don't know if we really need to discuss it, it's not a budget item. All-day kindergarten, what was the cost?
49,000. 39,163.88.
Do I have a motion to add $39,163.88 to provide all-day kindergarten? By Andrew. Second, Chris. Discussion? Yes, sir.
An economist would look at the opportunity cost of doing this. If we don't put in all-day kindergarten, we can eliminate, I think, 3 elementary teachers.
Yes.
So the real cost is whatever the cost is minus the $150,000 we could save.
So 90,000.
Well, no, we could get rid of 3 teachers if we don't put it in, right?
It would be $189,163.88.
Plus the 40-something that we're not gonna spend if we do it, so that's over $200,000 by now.
No, I added the $39,163 to the $150. That's how I got the $189.
180.
Yep. I was following with what you were saying.
But we're not recommending to cut those teachers at this time.
Because
We're not
it gives us
recommending
all-day
that.
kindergarten. Right. But if we don't take all-day kindergarten, we can save that money.
Right.
I'm just pointing out it's an expensive, more expensive than the $40,000 or whatever.
Good discussion, Andrew.
And this goes more to the merit of all-day kindergarten. I believe that, as all the board members, I do believe, it's so important to get the kids right in the beginning, as much attention, so as not have any of them falling behind. And it's something that I've been an advocate, I've always been more of an advocate to get more attention, more guidance and instruction at the earliest age that kids are in school. So I think it's beneficial that way. I hate to see it not go forward this year. That's just the merit concept. It's worth the money.
All those in favor? Unanimous. We agree. Okay.